Hello, I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today, would you pay somebody to have your baby? We look at the booming commercial surrogacy industry and why activists say it needs to be regulated. As always, our digital producer Malika Bilal is here looking out for your live feedback. Where is our community sitting on the issue of commercial surrogacy?
Well, this is definitely a sensitive topic for our community, and there's heated conversation going on between those who think commercial surrogacy is exploitation and those who say, you know what, it's a woman's right to choose. Well, summing it up on Twitter is Prince. He says it should be regulated because anything that requires payment should be monitored. Of course, we want to hear all points of view, so for those of you at home, join the conversation, use the hashtag AJStream.
And joining the conversation here in the studio with us is Crystal Travis. And Crystal is the founder of the World Surrogacy Organization and a facilitator for US citizens seeking surrogates in India. Crystal, welcome to the stream.
Thanks so much for having me.
Looking forward to hearing more from you in just a minute, okay?
Certainly.
So, this is a show I know that you're going to want to be part of, and between Twitter and Facebook and Google+, but we make it really easy for you to be in the stream, and we love hearing from you. So send us stories that you're following on Facebook. I'm on the Facebook site right now. Post your ideas there, and they could end up on the show.
This is Faisal Hussain, and it's mango season in India, and I'm in the stream.
Banned in many parts of the world, commercial surrogacy has prospective parents travelling to countries like India and Thailand where it is legal and affordable. Now, business is clearly booming online where you'll find sites that let you choose a surrogate or volunteer yourself. Consenting women often see it as a way of escaping poverty. But as the demand for surrogacy grows, so have critics of the billion-dollar industry. Now, many see the business as exploitative and doubt it can be both profitable and ethical at the same time. Some say laws are needed to rein in the practice, but will that be enough to silence the critics? So here to help us explore the issues we have in our Google Plus Hangout, Ranjana Kumari. She's a women's rights activist joining us from New Delhi. From Sydney, Australia, Jenny Milbank. She's a professor of law specialising in surrogacy. And in Tbilisi, Georgia, Dr. Mariam Kukunashvili is the founder and director of the New Life Global Network. That's a group of surrogacy clinics. Ladies, it's great to have all of you in the stream. Crystal, I'm going to start with you. Do you mind if I show everybody a picture of your family?
Go right ahead.
Look at this gorgeous family. Beautiful, stunning.
Thank you.
How did you get your children?
We had a surrogate in Gujarat with Dr. Naina Patel. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to carry, and so we used a surrogate in India.
Can I show a picture of your surrogate as well?
Sure.
What's her name?
Her name is Naina as well.
Oh, okay. How convenient.
Very easy.
There are a lot of people who are just going to be amazed that you would even go that far. You really wanted kids. Why would you go that extra step?
Well, we went through all of the protocols that most intended parents go through in this country, whether it be adoption, IVF. Actually, surrogacy in India was our last step, as it generally is for most people. We wanted a family. We were at a point in our life where it was now or never, and so we decided to take this journey.
Do you find that people, when they find out about this, that they are appalled by it, or they feel that you should be ashamed of it? What are the reactions that you get?
You get mixed reactions. For our family, everyone was happy because we had been married for a number of years. Most people aren't appalled by it. Many people don't even know that it exists. And it gives people an option.
And then in terms of, if you were saying for surrogacy, out of all the different ways that you can have a family and a child, why would you say this is a potential way to go?
I think that this is a better way to go because with adoption, at least in this country, you really don't know the genetics of the birth parent. At least for me, even though we used an egg donor and we had my husband's sperm, at least we had half of the genetics in place, and so we know what to expect.
Right. Let me just bring in Ranjana Kumari. She is in India right now. Ranjana, you run the Center for Social Research in India. On one of your pages, you talk about surrogacy, and you don't talk about it in a very positive manner. What is the main issue you have with clients coming from overseas and using Indian women as surrogates?
Well, I think there are many issues which are involved. First of all, that surrogacy in India is not regulated. So it is a commercial activity without any law. There is nothing to regulate the whole area of surrogacy in terms of accessing the mothers who are willing to rent their womb, the doctors' practices, and kind of everything that is involved with medical procedure. Also, we do not have any law to protect the interest of the surrogate parents. We do not have any kind of legal framework within which we can protect the children born out of surrogacy,
Right.
because because many countries do not have legal. It is not legal in many countries. So children born out of surrogacy are not natural citizens of the countries where it is not legal. So there
Okay.
are all four stakeholders have huge amount of issues in India, and we have researched it for past 4 years.
Right.
We have released 2 volumes of report on this, and now we are pushing for Government of India to make law.
All right, Ranjana, let me bring in the community here.
Where we're talking about whether or not it's legal, and our community is focused on whether or not it's ethical. Ayodoli says commercial surrogacy is unethical and shouldn't be encouraged by what he says is any government level. Right now we're talking about individual level, but Ranjana, I want to direct that one back to you. Is it ethical?
I want to agree, Dr. Ranjana.
This question clearly has sparked a lot of debate already. Let's go with Ranjana first.
Then I can get the other person.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think it's absolutely unethical to exploit the vulnerability of a poor woman. Why anybody who wants to have a child cannot get somebody from their own family, their own relatives, their own friends to offer their womb for carrying the child of the people. We relate to people so closely in our friend circle, within our families, within people we know, but none of those people are offering. But why everybody has to come all the way to India to get a poor woman who really needs money for her family, to exploit her and to get her to come forward and also not to look after her, not to even go and find out who this person is, where she comes from, what kind of a life she has, what are her own children. So I think it is really not ethical.
But that's not really true. That's painting a very broad brush. I mean, our surrogate was a nurse. She had children of her own. She wanted to do surrogacy so that she could add on to her house, so that she could pay for schooling for her children. She wasn't disabled mentally. She knew what she was doing. And I think for anyone to project their morality onto someone else when we don't know what their life conditions are, I think that's unacceptable. People should have a choice. Why? Because basically because Americans aren't as poor as they are in India, and so they don't need to become a surrogate. India can't take care of the people that live in India, so that is an option. And I don't think that any of us on the panel, are judge and jury and should make those decisions for people who have a voice of their own.
Ranjana, I'm going to bring in one of the other Google Hangout guests. Who else was about to jump in? I could hear you but could not see you. Who else was that?
I think this is the question of whether or not commercial surrogacy is ethical can be very polarizing, and there's always a view that it's unethical, and then there's a view that it is ethical. But it depends on the particulars of the arrangements. You can't say every commercial arrangement is exploitative just because there's a payment of money. There are some commercial arrangements that are very successful that do mean that there are relationships that form between the surrogate and the intended parents and that do improve the lives of both parties who've entered into it with full consent. But there are also unethical practices in some commercial arrangements as well, because there are unethical players who are acting deceptively or exploitatively, or engaged in unsafe clinical practices or less good ethical practices in terms of information giving and keeping access to identifying information for children and so on. So it runs the whole spectrum. I just don't think you can say it's one or the other.
Well, Mariam, I want to bring you in here because we just heard the two sides, that it could be exploitative. It may not be. Harjit on Twitter says, yes, more regulations needed, but it's all about choice. Not all surrogates are being exploited. Choose a reputable clinic.
First of all, I would love to tell you that I want to disagree, Dr. Ranjana. She mentioned surrogacy law in India wasn't regulated. And it was not legal, which is not true, because India had very good legislation about surrogacy. It has recently changed, and new regulations are coming now. So it was absolutely legal, and this legislation is written in Parliament webpage and Healthcare Ministry webpage, and all lawyers have this information. What about the exploitation of the woman? We are all exploited in 21st century by work. How we can say that surrogate mothers are exploited when all of us are exploited, and moreover there exists dozens of professional diseases. Even on just only United States reports 600 death injury annually. I will not mention here professional occupational health diseases such as cancer and other life-threatening diseases. So
Dr. Mariam, I should mention that you do run.
We all work for money and we are all exploited.
Okay, Ranjana.
Yes,
And
I think
I will add one more.
Ladies, one second, because you're all speaking and we can't hear any of you. 1 second, sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do.
Dr. Ranjana, just one more issue. When there is talk about morality and science, I would tell you that these two are inconsistent. President Bush banned stem cell research, but then President Obama allowed it and declared that morality and science are quite different, and these two are not inconsistent.
Okay, so this is how we're going to do this. Ranjana, wait 1 minute. Ranjana, and then we're going to go to Jenny. And just speak one at a time, because when you overlap, it's actually a little difficult to hear you today. So Ranjana, go ahead.
Okay, I think this is a misinformation that there is already a law on regularizing surrogacy. There is only medical guideline of the medical association, which only defines some of the medical procedure and the practices that doctors are allowed to do and not allowed to do in terms of ART. There is an ART bill in the parliament which is pending, which has not been passed. And we are for 4 years doing the research. So I would want you to believe that absolutely there is no law in this country, in our country, to really regulate surrogacy. As a result, the surrogacy is run by middlemen, and that is why it is a very exploitative system. Doctors do not take responsibility of the woman who has been brought, because they say there is an arrangement between the surrogate mother and the commissioning parents.
Okay.
Doctors only do the medical procedure. So in that sense, please don't say there is any law in the country. Nobody would know more than us. We are doing research for 4 years, and I can with some sense of responsibility tell you, in India we do not have a law to regulate surrogacy.
Okay, so Dr. Mariam and Ranjana, I'm just going to nudge this conversation on a little bit so we just don't get stuck between you two going backwards and forth. Jenny, what did you want to add?
Oh, yeah, look, indeed there is no law regulating surrogacy in India, but there's almost no law regulating surrogacy in the United States either. Surrogacy is very unregulated. When we do regulate, we tend to focus on the behaviour of clinicians and on the behaviour of parents, but there is very little attention focused on brokers and middlemen. And in the international surrogacy context, they're the people who are controlling a lot of the flows of people and a lot of the flows of information, and we do need to be paying a lot more attention to them.
Well, Krista, I want to bring you back in here because a lot of people are talking about the actual rights of the women who serve as surrogates. Sarah says, I think international surrogacy will be impossible to regulate and end up exploiting economically depressed women. There's a video comment along those same lines. Have a listen to this, and then I'd like to hear what you think.
In my opinion, there are two major ethical issues involving surrogacy. The first would be the high emotional cost paid by the surrogate mothers, who in all probability would never see a child again. And the second is the possible identity crisis that the baby might face once it enters the harsh world of adulthood, despite all possible support from its biological parents.
So I think the key thing out of that is she talks about the high emotional cost borne by these surrogates.
I'm not sure if that's really legitimate, depending on the doctor. For Dr. Naina Patel, there is a psychological testing that goes into the women who become surrogates. Most surrogates, they realize that they have signed a contract and that it is a business transaction. Many surrogates do not wish to see babies or maintain any relationship with the intended parents. I still keep a relationship with my surrogate, but I do that because I facilitate and I'm in and out of India quite often. That is not the norm. Most surrogates who give birth do not want the children. Most have a difficult time raising their own family.
But Crystal, I have to show you something. It's a documentary that's called Google Baby. It's about an Israeli man who went to India because he needed a surrogate. There's a little moment in the trailer where I was crying, and I'm not a big baby and I don't cry very often. I need to show this to you because this to me sums up perhaps the key issue with surrogacy. So this is just after a surrogate has given birth to a mother. Take a look at this. A baby, I should say.
Very good.
Now we send the baby out to the mother.
My heart is breaking right now. That's a business transaction?
Yes.
Yes.
Who said
What
yes?
is she
Is that
It
Dr.
is.
Mariam?
It's no different than when surrogates here give birth to a celebrity or anyone else.
Right.
They're in it. It's not altruism. It is a business transaction. The baby is not genetically tied to that surrogate.
Dr. Mariam, I believe you agree. Of course, you have surrogacy clinics. Explain how that very emotional moment can still be a business transaction.
Yeah, I can't say this is business transaction, but what I think is that objective world as a reality doesn't exist. So all is about a set of mind, how we look the process. So if surrogate mother gets emotionally connected, which sometimes happens, it's a problem. But I have seen many surrogate mothers. They are very happy that they helped families to bring babies. So we cannot make any judgment based on one case. Also, main is how you set up your mind.
Ranjana?
One can say this is exploitation of women, and others can say different. This is all about how we look at the world.
Ranjana, you're looking skeptical.
Well, I think it's very important to understand one idea that, we think poor needs money, so poor does not have emotion. They do not have any connect. Only women who produce their own children through marriage have all kinds of feelings about, that when you breastfeed, when your child starts moving your womb, when child is produced, then only you get the emotions because it's your own husband who is producing with you. But the other mother, the poor mother, does not have emotions. She does not want to connect with the child. She is like a commercial machine who the child is planted in, and then she brings out the child. She has absolutely no connect. I think this is a very, very difficult idea to accept, because by and large the idea is promoted in our country also that poor is getting money. But is money everything? And that this woman does not have to have. And so what about mothers connect with the child? What about mother breastfeeding the child? Whole world is promoting the idea of breastfeeding. So what happened to this baby? Isn't this baby being denied the breastfeed? Will this baby not have any kind of emotional connect? So I think these are the kind of notions which is bringing the whole childbearing, rearing into commercial realm. And that is what is the problematic. That is where the whole ethical issue is coming up. That should we just think child production as a machine? You implant it, you take the thing out, and you don't even. How many of these mothers have gone back to find out the psychology of the surrogate mother? Have they really ever? Has there been any study, any research to prove that these women have absolutely no emotion? They produce a child and give that child away without any kind of connect with the child. I think if there are no researchers, we should not talk unscientific things. Whatever we are producing here is after 4 years of consistent research.
Right.
So I would like to say that this is something, to talk about it is commercial. Mother has no relation with the child. She just gives away and she only takes her money back. Also is a very, very hard.
Excuse me, Dr. Ranjana, all Indian doctors are very well aware about how you were performing this research. People were paid 10,000 rupiah, and they were signing anything you were providing them. So we cannot say that we cannot ignore emotions, but we cannot only talk about surrogate mothers, because we all are having emotional life, and we are all emotionally involved in our work. So why we only speak about surrogate mothers? We are human beings, and emotions are quite natural.
Okay, Dr. Mariam Ranjana, I'm just going to
want one point. I just want to say one point.
Okay, just quickly, I want the community also have that part of the conversation.
Very quickly, I just want to make one point.
Go ahead.
Is that okay? If you give 10,000 rupiah, you do not know that how many doctors in India are doing sex selection and aborting the female children.
No, they are not. The doctors who that doesn't happen. They're not going to lose their license for intended parents across the world. Maybe they do that in India for Indians.
I'm just going to call time out for a moment. Dr. Ranjana's one point started off a firestorm of conversation.
It did.
Very sneaky there, Ranjana.
She raised a lot of points that our community is also picking up on. One of them is you said money isn't everything. There's a Facebook comment. I need to read this Facebook comment because it fits perfectly. Catherine says, whenever money is involved, enslavement quickly follows. But she follows up, however, my dearest friend offered to be our surrogate because I have diabetes. She was offering a gift and not with a fee. I declined her gift and chose to adopt. And so, Crystal, I want to go to you with the theme of adoption because it's something our community has asked a lot about. Why can't people just adopt? There are too many kids in the world. Some need parents, some need kids. That's what this tweet asks.
Well, as an adopted child whose parents left me and my siblings in the 60s, we did want to go through the adoption route. We took a few years going through the adoption route and it didn't work. In this country, it is very difficult to adopt. It's very difficult to get babies. It's not a problem to get disabled children, but not everyone wants to have a disabled child, and that's the fallback that everyone always points to. Why don't you adopt?
I realize when I'm looking at your beautiful family here, ladies, just hold tight for 1 second. We're going to be heading to the post show any second now, and we have a lot more room for conversation. But I'm looking at your beautiful family again. I didn't ask you an incredibly personal question. Please forgive me, but I want to ask you how much your children cost you.
Well, it depends. In the beginning, we started surrogacy in 2008, and at that time it was about $26,000. And then by the time our twins were born, it was about probably $28,000. And now most people pay about $35,000 for a singleton birth.
Right, wow. This conversation isn't over yet. I really want to hear more from Jenny. Jenny is a professor of law at the University of Technology in Sydney. We're going to be talking about regulations. To me, that sounds like something that might help the whole international industry of surrogacy. So we will be having that conversation at the post show at stream.aljazeera.com. But before we get there, we have some big news, some huge news, massive news for people watching us from the United States. Al Jazeera America, a whole new channel, goes live on Tuesday, August the 20th. I've got tingles right now. That means that our US community will have their very own version of the stream. So if you're in the US, you won't see Malika and myself on screen anymore, but you can still follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and at AJ Stream there as well. The question is, Malika, who could host a Al Jazeera show for Al Jazeera America, the stream?
I have one thought.
You have one thought?
I have a guess.
Well, they have to be smart. They have to know the show really well. Oh my goodness, it's tough.
Not everyone could do it.
Who can control all of these guests? Lisa Fletcher? Lisa Fletcher? She's still around? Lisa Fletcher. AJAM stream with Lisa Fletcher. It's great to have you in the stream, Lisa. What are you going to be doing on AJ America?
We're going to do the same kinds of things that the stream is known for, unheard narratives, great conversation, emerging voices, except we're going to do it focused on America. It's a big place. There are a lot of people here who need their stories told.
So you know that there's no way I'm letting go of Malika Bilal right here. Like, she is important to me. I've chained her to the desk. But who's going to be your digital producer for your show?
Wajahat Ali.
Okay.
I call him Waj or W, so I suggest you just go with that. But he's amazing. He's a playwright, he's an attorney, he's a writer, he's very diverse, so much texture to his background. He's going to be amazing.
So I'm just clicking on to see where I can find you guys. Can you show us how we follow you from next week?
So you can find us on the web at alj.am/stream. And then on Facebook and Twitter, it's AJAM Stream, AJAM Stream.
That's Lisa Fletcher and Wajahat Ali on AJAM Stream, coming to you in the US starting from Tuesday, August the 20th. Meanwhile, back on the stream original, coming up on the next show, is the oil-rich Saudi desert a mirage? While outsiders see a kingdom that's drenched in wealth, in reality, average citizens are struggling to put food on the table. We will tell you how they're using social media to try and change that. Meanwhile, we'll be online with the post show at stream.aljazeera.com. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Hello again, this is the post show where we're still talking about the controversy surrounding commercial surrogacy. We have Crystal Travis, a surrogacy facilitator on set. In our Google Plus Hangout, we have Ranjana Kumari, a women's rights activist in New Delhi, Jenny Milbank, a professor of law in Sydney, and Dr. Mariam Kukanashvili, founder of a network of surrogacy clinics. So, one of the things that keeps coming up, Jenny keeps bringing it up, is regulations. Jenny, how do you think this might help? Because people are surrogates all over the world, not just in India, we're talking about Thailand, even in the US and in European countries. So how do we deal with regulations?
Look, absolutely. It's one of those things where you can pass national law and it has absolutely no effect, or indeed is a driver for international commercial surrogacy. So in Australia, we have very restrictive surrogacy laws, and as a consequence, most of our parents doing surrogacy go to India, Thailand, the US, the Ukraine, and now Mexico. You can't just pass a national law and think it will have any effect. When I talk about regulation, I'm thinking more about setting minimum standards of clinical and ethical care, that we work together across national borders to do that, across different countries, and work with fertility providers in particular, because as doctors, clinicians do have a sense of ethical obligations, they do have professional licenses to try to get better practice and more informed practice for parents particularly, because I don't think parents wake up in the morning and decide that they want to have a baby in an unethical way, that they want to exploit somebody, but what they do is they go on the internet, they get someone who tells them this is how it's done, and they do it, and they don't know the questions to ask, they don't know which practices are dangerous or less safe, and so working with parents and with clinicians to get better information and get a sense of minimum standards of care that can then be enforced through mechanisms like the granting of citizenship by different nation states and through legal parentage by different nation states.
Ranjana, I'm just curious as to, is this convincing you in any way? Is it regulations, or are you just disturbed by the ethics of the practice?
No, I think it's important that if it was so, open and honest and foolproof, then it would be very easy for you to contact a mother who is willing to, rent her womb. But it is not. It is the whole business is run by a middleman, many middlemen, and there are these places where these women are parked after they get, they go for surrogacy. Then after the ART procedure is done, then they are kept there confined for 9 months. And you should know that within that 9-month period, if something happens to her own family, her own children who are left behind in the village, or they have been they are brought from some other areas of the country, there is also some amount of trafficking now involved because this is growing very fast. So in unregulated kind of a situation, you cannot really blame the doctor, you cannot really punish the commissioning parents, you cannot, and middleman is not visible at all. So I think any kind of regulation, first of all, at the national level, we need to have in India to be able to, protect our women, and second, and children, because children do not have nationality. We had issues of children born here from Japanese parents, who should take them. We had issues of children born from German parents, and those countries refused the nationality. So what did we do? We fought with our government and we said any child born on Indian soil is natural citizen of India. So you cannot push the child out, but then parents have to take visa to come here to look after the children. There are many critical issues involved which needs to be discussed bilaterally by the countries, and I totally agree with our Australian friend that we need to have a global view on this. There has to be a global law, there has to be an understanding, because it is based on exploitation of very poor women. So I think this is something that the message we are trying to give, that if we have to protect that, we cannot commercialize it to the extent that you just don't care who is giving you the baby. I mean, it's enough for you to give the money and take the baby back. This is not the idea. The idea is surrogacy is a good medical procedure, but which way it has been used is what we are questioning, and we want regulation, we want a proper law.
Well, Mariam, Ranjana just listed a whole range of challenges. There's another one here on Twitter that I'd like you to address. Jazar says, not only does it need to be regulated, but monitored and well documented. And Mariam, I know that you work in 8 different countries. So the one that pops into my head, the challenge that pops into my head first is, how do you even make sure that documents are transferable? one is in one language, another is in another.
Documents are transferable, and in all countries where we work according to local legislation. So I will again disagree, Dr. Anjana. He mentioned German couples and Japanese couples, but I will tell you that this happens many years ago in India, and since that time, none of the IVF clinics in India let European couples do surrogacy there. So a lot of mistakes from her side, but no problem. I will respond to your question directly. So there are different countries according to legislation. In some countries, commissioning parents, surrogacy law is very regulated, like it was in India. So commissioning parents are going in birth certificate. In some countries, the law is not regulated, and such country is Thailand. So a birth mother go as a birth mother is birth certificate, but after this, genetic father receives full custody in district office from surrogate mother. There are also other countries such as Ukraine and Georgia, and law is very clear about these procedures. So
Dr. Mariam, there was one thought I had when I was researching your surrogacy clinics. What I found quite interesting is that as the regulations tighten up in one country, you move to another country. So it's not that you're breaking the law, you're going somewhere else where it's easier for you to do what you do. Some people would say that you're just moving around the world and going to countries where there's fewer regulations for you to practice. That's not quite the idea of regulations, is it?
The reason why we do open in other branches in other countries is that I think is just business approach, because business must have different poles. So if there is some problem in other country, business is supported from other clinics from another country. Also, another issue why we open our branches in this or that country is that surrogacy in Georgia is legal only for married couples. Same in Ukraine. So India was a good option for single parents. Recently, law have been changed and India doesn't anymore accept single parents.
Right.
So Thailand was another alternative. So September we plan to set up in Mexico as well. So our business strategy is to be always ready for changes before changes happen.
All right. So, Crystal, as we were in that little break between the main show and the post show, and the conversation was getting very heated, and I asked you, did you expect it to be this heated? And share with our audience, your response.
I said yes. This is what I've come to expect. You know, some of this is explosive, but you know what? We live in a modern world. The world is ever evolving. As long as male sperm count is on the decline, and as long as women keep having fertility issues due to pollution or what have you, or marrying at an older age, or gay laws being passed, we're going to move forward, and other countries will handle the overflow for surrogacy. It's not going anywhere. It'll be here before me, after you. It's how we deal with it.
What do you tell couples who, obviously people are going to watch this show, they're going to see you, they're going to look up you online and they find you and they come to you. What would you tell them to expect as a potential parents of a child that they might decide to have via a surrogate in India, for instance? What would you warn them about?
Well, it depends. I mean, for a lot of people who contact me, I can tell very early on that surrogacy in a third world may not be for them. You know, I always ask them how they feel about whether it's a clean or a dirty clinic or what have you. Surrogacy in a third world is not for everyone, but for those who can muster it, you know, it's fine if you don't have the funds to pay $120,000 here in the U.S.
So our community started divided. How did they end at the end of this conversation?
It's interesting. They started divided and negative for the most part. But this tweet here from Kabiru kind of represents what I'm seeing. Surrogacy will not be too bad if it's regulated and done for those families who can't give birth due to medical conditions.
It's amazing, isn't it, when you have a whole team of women? How fascinating the conversation gets.
And how quickly it goes.
Oh, yes.
And the other thing that I wanted to point out
there's another thing?
Surrogacy is, it's, you know what, it's, yes, it needs regulation.
Right.
The problem is that in third world countries where there is a lot of corruption, it's hard to bring everyone to the table. How do you bring all of the other nations to the table, you know, when you're dealing with massive issues?
I am sure that Ranjana, Crystal, Dr. Mariam and Jenny have more than another thing to add to this conversation, but we are going to take it online, and just leaves me to say thank you so much for spending time with us here on the stream. What will we be doing on Monday? Well, on the next show, we'll be talking about the oil-rich Saudi Arabia. Is it just a mirage that people are so wealthy there, while outsiders see a kingdom drenched in money? In reality, the average citizen is struggling to put food on the table. We'll look at how people are using social media to demand that the government create better living conditions. That will be our next discussion coming up on Monday. Until then, we'll see you online. Thanks very much for watching.